Hey Workshop, we are back with another on-location interview. We've been doing a ton of them lately. I've got a good one today. I actually got to hear him play for a bit last night. This is Sam from Slave to Servant. He is the lead singer, founder, all-around cheerleader for the band.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. Tell us who you are, brother.
Yeah, my name's Sam Swanson. I am a singer-songwriter. I've probably made like 15 records in my life so far, but this is kind of a new endeavor that's taken a while to get off the ground. We did our first show last night here at Reliance Festival. Very, I would say, socio-spiritual message going on with our band. Yeah.
So where did the genesis for Slave to Servant come from?
I think it started, you know how when they say males, our frontal cortex doesn't develop fully till we're like 28, or something like that. Around that time, that was when I started having kids, and I started to ask myself a lot of different deep questions that I just wasn't thinking about before.
Sure.
So I started to go down different rabbit holes, etc., which led me to kind of part ways with the political dichotomy and latch onto my faith more.
Okay.
And in doing so, I wanted to just keep learning more. So I started to interview researchers on a podcast that I had called God's Property Radio, which was part of Revelation's radio network.
Okay.
Interviewed people, everything from vaccines to 9/11 to the monetary system to Nephilim, whatever. It was all over the map. So a lot of the content that makes Slave to Servants material is from what I gleaned from those years.
Really? So when you say you stepped outside of the political dichotomy,
Yeah.
that's a big thing around here. I don't know if people throw the word anarchist around or
Love
living.
it.
Okay.
Jesus was an anarchist.
What does that mean to you? What in the world does Jesus was an anarchist mean to you? Because that's a great slogan.
Let's just go back to the beginning of creationism if we accept that premise, right?
Sure.
So if you were made in the image of God, we have a royal status. We are to be kings and queens, not to rule over anybody but ourselves. And that, to me, aligns with true traditional anarchism. However, I think what is so cool about the Bible and the Torah, for instance, is that if you look at all the ancient Near Eastern texts, all of them, it's the gods made humanity to be slaves. And that has a lot to do with my title of my band. I'm going from the worldly slave status, the societal slave status, to a servant, which is a true leader. A true leader serves.
I like that. I love that. And I love because here's something that I struggle with. And I've been all over the place over the years with my faith. And
Me too.
when I talk to people, sometimes I struggle with the Christianity end of things. How you can, because I'm a firm believer, you can marry personal choice and anarchy with really almost anything, as long as you're not forcing anything on anyone else.
100%.
So where does
God doesn't force himself on us either.
So where does your faith line up with, and modern Christianity line up with?
It's a tough
anarcho
one. It's a tough one because now you're using modern, and I call it churchianity.
Sure.
And I don't really jive with churchianity. I have nothing against organized. I'll go as far as to say, and this is something I used to interview a pastor that was imprisoned on my podcast named Kent Hovind, and he stepped out of the system with the whole Social Security, birth certificate, all that stuff, and ran his. Anyway, we created a campaign. That's how I met our guitarist that played last night, was through putting out a compilation of Christian artists all over that were kind of more truther oriented.
Okay.
And he ended up getting out of prison, but he was there for 10 years for tax evasion, and I think it was structuring is what they got him on for.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a long rabbit hole, but point being is that, what was the original, churchianity.
Yeah. How do we bring that in together with anarcho principles?
I don't know if you can, honestly, with churchianity, because churchianity involves, this is where I was going to get, 501c3 status is a corporate business. And I don't think, if you look at every scripture, I mean, the Bible was written for us, but it wasn't written to us. So contextually speaking and linguistically and culturally, you have to understand who it was written to and what these people understood. And one thing I'll say is that every one of these churches was where two or more are gathered in a home. They were all in homes,
Doing their thing.
And I'm not saying everybody has to get together. I think it's wonderful to have a place to congregate. However, I don't agree with the entire monetary system, the entire Federal Reserve System, the central banking scheme. All of it is connected. I mean, they've been funding all the wars for the last 200 years on both sides. So I don't know, every major war at least.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think that you can't. I think that people are waking up more and more. I hope that I like to see. I'm seeing a lot of people come from a totally just secular background, and they're like they see the evil and they're backing away. They're slowly stepping away from it. And I think it's a process. We all have a personal walk with Yahweh, with Yeshua, and I think that it's really, you have to just be open to, yourself, right? You know how God speaks to you. I think he speaks differently to different people, and you have to just have your antenna up. And I think we have to be sober-minded, and I think that's the key, is listening to God and obeying and just stepping forward out of the comfort zone that you're in and expanding.
So, with the music end of things, so I kind of really dug it last night. I was really digging it. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm going to throw myself out there. Would there be a bit of like post-grunge influences there?
100%.
So let's go back
go
to
to music.
Because we have some connections that are, at least some really, really random, obscure kind of connections. So
I think you should interview Jesse.
I will.
He's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I think this is like an amazing thing, is that when I was in youth group as a kid in the churchianity culture, my youth pastor gave me a cassette of a band called Poor Old Lou. I was probably about 13, 14, and I believe it was their last release, and it was on Tooth and Nail after they had left Forefront. And that was when I was introduced to Poor Old Lou, and I never really thought about them after that.
Sure.
But I know that they were on some compilations that I had. And fast forward to 2016, when I was leaving my career, that's where I met Jesse, and I invited him to the campground that I was managing at the time in New York, and with the purpose of recording a record.
Okay.
And then I had deferred it until like 2019 because of just personal reasons. But that's how I met. It was like this full circle thing. So it led me back to like my roots of like Tooth and Nail Records and all those kinds of bands.
Tell people, because I want to bet 9 out of 10 listeners don't have a sweet clue. I geeked out over Tooth and Nail when we were talking, but what was Tooth and Nail Records?
Tooth and Nail Records was a subculture. It was complete. It was all accepting. Like, they didn't just put out Christian bands; they put out bands like Juliana Theory. We were talking about them. Jesse, and I'll toot his horn all day. He won't. He doesn't like name dropping and stuff. But Jesse and his brother are like icons in that world. Aaron is a renowned producer. Produced, I can't even, just go look at Aaron Sprinkle's production discography, but Jesse's drummed on such amazing records. He was a founding member of Demon Hunter.
Wow.
The first 2 Demon Hunter records he drummed on. He was in Dead Poetic for a couple records. He's played with Cutlass on records. He's played in Starflyer 59 on tours. He's done, countless. Like, he'll never like brag about it.
Sure.
He's just like, it is
pull
what
it
it
out
is.
of him.
But I think Poor Old Lou was the 3rd band assigned to Tooth and Nail Records.
Wow. So right
Brandon Ebel, like at the very beginning, was like, he was in love with that band. But yeah, so MXPX. Let's just say MXPX.
Yeah, they would know. Most people should know.
Oh, they know.
MXPX.
Aaron Sprinkle produced Poking at Ya. Like, he was there from the beginning.
For those who don't know, because we're going to go back to like late 90s, early 2000s, Christian rock culture, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Tooth and Nail was the record label. And so, of course, you couldn't download MP3s. We would wait quite often for a magazine called 8 Ball Magazine. Do you remember that? The CDs? Mm-hmm. And they would have CDs, and a lot of them would be
Metal.
Tooth and Nail. Yes, all. And that's how I got introduced to so many. 1,000 Foot Crutch, Reliant K. And everybody's like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But that's kind of where it came from.
They were like the epitaph of Christian like music.
And they changed things too. Like, it was, you look at a generation, and because right after grunge, you had pop. Pop went huge. Pop punk, and it was like,
and then emo and indie rock kind of sort of took a. I feel like indie rock, the initial like Braid and all those kinds of bands, like Further Seems Forever is like great. I think Moon Is Down is hands down my favorite Tooth and Nail release. And,
really?
Oh, and James Paul Wisner mixed our record, who did that record.
That is
So,
cool. I love it.
And Howie Weinberg, who mastered Nirvana's Nevermind and Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream and Faith No More's King for a Day, which is one of my favorite records, he mastered our record.
Really?
Yes. So it's a very big sounding record. Like, I put $25,000 DIY all by myself. I have my own LLC. I play covers for a living, feed my kids. I live in a bus, and I'm totally unconventional, but I just felt a calling. I felt like I was supposed to be obedient and make this record, and I had something to say.
What is your favorite? So we get talking, and I buy Slave to Servants vinyl because, me, I'm a bit of a vinyl head. I don't know what you want to call it. But he's like, hey, I got a gift for you. And you give me your previous, or is this your
Singularity?
Still your current? It was the covers album. There's 15.
Oh, so that's how, yeah. So Jesse and I met in 2016, and then in 2017 we started a band called Handsome Young Ladies, and
That's-
Aaron Sprinkle mixed it. His brother mixed it.
Okay.
And it's like kind of a post-grunge spin on like Earth, Wind and Fire and Cyndi Lauper and Tears for Fears and Ace of Base and Elton John, and
I wondered if
it's like
the song
70s, 80s, and 90s, kind of some jazz chords in there, but like grunged out. It's just
Really?
a power trio.
As soon as I heard like the first 4 or 5
We have some
chords
music
up
videos,
there.
too.
Okay, I'll check you out. Because
Yeah.
when I heard you guys were going to be here, I went on and started listening to your music. I'm like, oh, they're the shit, man. They're the guys. I like your stuff. I love
Thank
it.
you.
And I was
I
like,
appreciate
because
that.
full disclosure, I hadn't heard of you because this is how you do. This is how we all go to events to grow our community and grow
Absolutely.
our exposure. And man, I loved it. Your outfits, they were Love Against the Machine,
Yeah.
which is obviously it's a slam against rage and
Well,
yeah.
it's just totally counterculture. Just it's like Christ, right? Like we don't. The reason this song, if I can just explain that real
Yeah,
quick.
absolutely you can.
I was writing a song. I wrote a few songs on the record: Grave Spit, Love Against the Machine, and there was another one. I'm trying to remember what it was, but they were about loving your enemy, and we don't know that kind of love. I'm not talking about being walked on. A lot of people misuse
Sure.
turn the other cheek, which is just a Jewish idiom for don't let somebody, nobody can take your honor.
Yeah.
So turn the other cheek, let them say what they want about you. That's really what it means.
Sure.
Anyway, but a lot of people misuse things out of context, and I was just trying to learn about how to love one's enemy. And this woman, I saw her on the news, and she was talking about how she was raped, and they were covering the story of her going to prison and forgiving the man, like through the glass, like,
Sure.
just saying, hey,
Dude.
I forgive you. And I was like, I can't wrap my brain around that. And so this just came to me like Love Against the Machine. Like that's how we do it. We can't, rage just begets rage.
Sure.
Hate begets hate. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I love it. Show him your logo. Can you see his logo there? Any grunge head from the 90s is going to know, but I love it.
I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan.
Are you?
Oh, I love it. But it was kind of a joke, but also because the rumor was that Nine Inch Nails had to do with the Nine Inch Nails that nailed
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah.
So I thought, hey, we flip it upside down. It's slave to servant.
love it.
It's the antithesis. But I don't know if that's fully
Yeah,
verified.
whatever. We love hearsay and that kind of stuff around
Sure.
here. But favorite grunge album?
That's a tough one. I mean, gosh, I have such a soft spot for the Pumpkins because I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, brother.
I think that if you nailed me down,
Yeah.
Siamese Dream. But I honestly, and it sounds bad maybe, but are they really considered grunge though? Because they're not from
Whatever.
Seattle. So
Don't
I guess,
worry about it. Just throw it in there. Okay.
but-
favorite album from the grunge era. How about that?
Well, I mean, Nevermind is actually the thing that, I think I gravitate toward In Utero these days.
Yeah, I get it.
But Nevermind is the thing that got me, because I was a R&B and hip hop guy
Really?
before I ever got into rock music, and so Nevermind snapped me out of it. I'm like, what is this? Like hearing Territorial Pissings.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my God, that's Grave Spit. I
Yeah.
tried to make a song like
Oh,
Territorial Pissings, like where it was like really, the drum roll and everything. But Nevermind changed everything. It destroyed hair metal, which I'm sorry, I can't stand hair
No,
metal. Like,
amen.
I can't-
And that's because-
I'm a new wave guy.
Yeah.
Like, let's go Tears for Fears or Prefab Sprout. But
I love
you know,
70s, hated hair metal, although I've grown to like, say, Def Leppard and AC/DC I love.
Sure.
But they were, at least AC/DC was pre-80s,
Yeah, and they're a little different. They're not like hair metal.
But it's true, yeah.
It's not like
Unplugged.
Winger.
Unplugged is mine. We
Unplugged.
wore out,
Oh.
and that's kind of a cheat, I know, but we
What?
wore out
Nirvana?
Unplugged. Yeah, Nirvana
Oh
Unplugged.
yeah, I have that on wax. I love that record.
We wore it out on cassette. We actually wore a cassette out one summer playing in the basketball courts and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But it was just that was the one. But 1979 favorite song of the grunge era ever.
Dude, actually, I think Muzzle
Yeah.
off of Siamese Dream. Oh my
Your
gosh.
favorite?
I think that's what the best Billy Corgan song is, Muzzle.
Do you ever go and do deep dives into? Because there's a lot I didn't hear back in the day. So I'll go back and listen to B-sides and stuff. And
Oh,
I've
my
fallen
God.
into a lot of
Well, with Pumpkins is a great example
Oh, yeah.
because all the singles were put out as Aeroplane Flies High, the collection.
Yeah.
And they're like each single, there were 5, and they have like, well, the Zero single
Yeah.
has like 8 songs on it. It's like an album in itself.
nobody remembers that.
Oh, I'm a nerd,
I
you know,
know.
like.
But nobody remembers even singles. I tell kids now, and they're like,
know.
"What do you mean?" I was like, "I used to get the cassettes in the paper sleeves."
What's a B-side?
Yeah, I was like, "What is a B-side?" Yeah.
Yeah. Cause singles.
Oh man,
Oh,
dude, I could geek out. We got to get you on for a
let's do
full
it.
interview. If you,
Let's talk hip hop too.
I would love.
Shoot.
I mean, I'm a white kid from Nova Scotia, but I certainly
That's
loved my
cool.
hip hop back in the day. So I'd love to get you and maybe some of the members if we can do like a joint live stream sometime.
we
or
could
something.
probably
So-
do that. We could probably work something out.
Okay, I would, but even just you to start. I
would
don't
love
care.
to. I would love to.
I'd love to do the whole Howard Stern thing where I get somebody to play an acoustic. You know, have you
Yeah.
ever up for something like
I'm
that?
down.
Okay,
Let's do it. And I have a new video coming out. I
Yes,
just
plug yourself. That's what I want you to
so
do.
Slave to Servant is with a TWO, as in two meanings for slave to servant. But go to slave to servant and please.com. Find our website. Find all our socials. I have a YouTube channel. I have like less than 400 subscribers right now, and I'm about to drop a video that I invested a lot of money in.
Okay.
It's going to stir the pot. I need people who want to stir the pot to share it with people.
Okay.
Because it is. I don't know. It's called Destroy. It's the first song on the record, Destroying the Eye, and it's
I have a friend. I'll send
potent. We'll say it's potent. It was ballsy.
I have a friend I'll send the link to. We mentioned earlier there, the other musician that I know. So we'll see. I'm sure he'll share it around for you. So
Okay.
Because that to me is, that's how we do it.
You can stream the record. It's
Yeah.
on Spotify as of 2 days ago. It's on all the digital streaming platforms. It's called Escape Babylon. It's a little album cover with a elephant and a donkey, and you're either burning or drowning. And that's our dichotomy that we're in.
You get it on vinyl.
You can get it on vinyl. It's on translucent, 180 gram with little orange specks in
Beautiful.
it. I've got CDs. I've got a Singularity is like a bunch of B-sides and acoustic versions of songs that I also am selling in the web store. I have merch. I appreciate it. This is just totally DIY. I mean,
I love it.
I think labels are almost on the out at this point. And I'm looking, I really, if I could say this, like,
Sure.
I'm looking to create a subculture of artists that are aligned this
Yep.
way. And if you're an artist, let's connect. If I want to start a collective, a label, all kinds of things. I just want to get to the point where we're touring with bands and we're influencing culture and we're influencing the youth, and the youth are coming up seeing our bands and they do something greater than us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what I want. And my heart is in art. I think that Lauryn Hill said it best. She said that throughout society, throughout history, artists have particularly been people who live outside of society in order to expose society to itself. And I think that is my job. And I hope I meet more people like me.
Thank you, Sam. I hope you meet more people like you too. So thank you, brother. Appreciate it.